Imagine this. You're 19 years old. You've just signed for Inter Milan, one of the biggest football clubs in the world. The San Siro is chanting your name, the media is calling you the future of Brazil, and every time you touch the ball, it feels like destiny. You're not just scoring goals. You're destroying goalkeepers with shots so powerful, they sound like thunderclaps. You're running past defenders like they're training cones. The world is saying, this is the next Ronaldo. And for a while, they're right. But what happens when your dream collides with tragedy? What happens when the weight of a broken heart is heavier than trophies, heavier than fame, heavier than all the applause in the world? This is the story of Adriano Ribeiro. The boy from the favela who became the emperor. The superstar who rose higher than almost anyone. And then fell just as fast. Adriano was born in 1982, in Vila Cruzeiro, one of Rio de Janeiro's most dangerous favelas. To grow up there meant surviving gunfire, poverty, and violence every single day. Kids either ended up in crime, or they escaped through football. For Adriano, the ball was everything. He wasn't just talented, he was terrifying. A left foot that could launch rockets, a body built like a heavyweight, and yet the agility of a sprinter. By his teenage years, Flamengo had found him. And from the first moment he stepped onto the pitch, everyone knew, this boy wasn't just good, he was unstoppable. At just 18, Inter Milan came calling. Imagine that leap. One day you're running barefoot on broken streets in the favela, and the next, you're walking into the San Siro, sharing a locker room with world-class legends. The emperor's throne was waiting. At first, Inter Milan loaned Adriano out. Fiorentina, then Parma. And that's when Italy saw what Brazil had already known. He wasn't just scoring goals, he was humiliating defenders. 30-yard free kicks that swerved like guided missiles. Solo runs where grown men bounced off him like children. By 2004, he was back at Inter. No longer a teenager. No longer a prospect. But a monster. Between 2004 and 2005, Adriano was unplayable. He scored 28 goals in a single season. He bullied Serie A defenders who had spent their careers stopping legends. He made goalkeepers look helpless. Fans called him l'Imperatore, the Emperor. And for once, a nickname was not an exaggeration. That summer, Copa America 2004 cemented his place in history. Brazil was losing 2-1 to Argentina in the final. The clock hit 90 minutes. The whistle was seconds away. And then, boom. Adriano smashed home an equalizer so fierce it felt like Brazil itself roared through his left foot. Brazil went on to win on penalties. Adriano, he became a national hero overnight. The world was certain, this man will dominate football for the next decade. But life has a cruel way of striking when you least expect it. In 2004, just as Adriano was at his peak, he received a phone call that would break him forever. His father, the man who had raised him, guided him, believed in him, had passed away. Adriano adored his father. Every goal, every victory, every dream was built on making him proud. And in that single moment, all of it collapsed. Teammates remember Adriano coming to training afterward. His eyes, empty. His smile, gone. One said, "We lost Adriano that day." From the outside, he was still the emperor. From the inside, he was broken. Adriano tried to carry on. He tried to keep scoring, keep celebrating, keep pretending. But the pain followed him everywhere. Alcohol became an escape. Nights out replaced mornings at training. He'd disappear for days. Turn up late. Sometimes not turn up at all. Inter Milan begged him to fight. Coaches tried tough love. Teammates tried to protect him. But you can't mark grief out of a game. You can't train away depression. Jose Mourinho once said Adriano was one of the most talented players he'd ever coached. But he couldn't save him. Nobody could. Adriano was only in his early 20s, but the downfall had begun. Here's the thing about Adriano. Even at half his best, he was still terrifying. He'd go missing for weeks, then come back and score a goal that would make the San Siro shake. There were still glimpses of the Emperor. Free kicks smashed in from 40 yards. Solo goals where he bulldozed through entire defenses. But those glimpses grew rarer. The consistency was gone. The fire was fading. The media turned. Fans began to question. Coaches lost patience. And soon, Inter let him go. Back in Brazil, Adriano tried to rebuild. Flamengo welcomed him home. For a while, it worked. He scored goals. He smiled again. He won trophies. Brazilian fans embraced him, believing their emperor was back. But the shadows never left. The same late nights. The same missed trainings. The same emptiness inside. Other clubs took risks. Sao Paulo, Roma, Corinthians. But every comeback ended the same. It wasn't his body that failed him. It wasn't his left foot. It was the pain in his heart. By his early 30s, Adriano's career was effectively over. No farewell game. No graceful goodbye. No standing ovations like Messi or Ronaldo will one day have. The Emperor just disappeared. One of the most feared strikers on the planet was gone. And he returned, not to the stadiums of Europe, but to the favelas of Rio, where it all began. Today, Adriano lives a quiet life. He doesn't see himself as a failure. In interviews, he often says, "I may not have been the best player in the world, but I was happy when I could be. And I made my father proud." He's still loved in Brazil. Still remembered in Italy. Still respected by those who knew the battles he faced. Because here's the truth, Adriano's story is bigger than football. It's about grief. It's about mental health. It's about how even the strongest, the biggest, the most unstoppable, can break inside. And it's about remembering that behind the goals, behind the celebrations, behind the headlines, footballers are human. So when we talk about Adriano, the Emperor, we don't just talk about the downfall. We talk about the moments of brilliance. The thunderous strikes. The unforgettable equalizer against Argentina. The fear he put into defenders. For a brief, shining moment, Adriano ruled the football world. And maybe that's the beauty of his story. Because sometimes, legends aren't remembered for how long they lasted, but for how brightly they burned. Adriano burned like fire. And though his empire crumbled, his legend will never be forgotten. This was the rise and fall of Adriano, the Emperor.